better get Prigozhin out of the way in Belarus with his people there than risk bloodshed in Russia. So I think I described it before as a very tough-minded cost-benefit calculation. Putin putting aside his anger, whatever feelings of revenge he needed, in order to preserve stability within Russia. The fact that the entire political system, the entire military and security establishment, and the population rallied to Putin meant that Putin's position was so strong that he didn't need to resort to these violent methods to assert control.
Hey,
I think he decided.
Let me turn that off.
Not only did he...
The tennis has been good so far. Not great, but Tsitsipas just beat Dominic Thiem, in a team, I guess, in a pretty exciting final. Hey Darren, hey NR, Spiny, Gerald, Science Rules, Paul, Ryan Rang, Darren Collins, ESK. Well, all right, you guys. John Crossman. Arnofal, ESK, Adam, AP. Linda's about to sing Moon River. Doc, are you using your whole hand? Yeah, nice lamp, huh? That's from when you sit with a bottle of booze, which I don't do anymore. Yeah, I'm a little worried what's going on in D.C. Spiny, could this action be options bait for a Friday rug pull? I think we're launching soon. I haven't heard anything about Alpine Mike. Hi, Jennifer. I forgot what I was answering. Oh, the shootings. There were 3 Molotov cocktails thrown, and I don't know. Look, I don't want to judge the appropriateness of policy in the White House of the most popular president ever elected, but a lot of the people coming across the border are military-aged men, according to RFK Jr., who gave a talk about it. West Africa, all the stans, China, not just Central America. And I don't know. It just bugs me that they can throw Molotov cocktails into establishments here. You know, I've lived overseas and traveled, and whenever you come home to North America, to the United States, you feel safe. And maybe they're going to try to take that away from us. Anyway, hey, Charlie Mack, looking dapper. Yeah, I need a new look. HKD in the way. Let's look at what the price is doing. I think I was trying to figure out what question I could ask you guys. What's your favorite Chinese food? What's Jeff Easton going to have as his final meal if it's Chinese? I couldn't come up with a clever answer, but I think you have to be prepared that it's possible that the finger can take off. It's 404 to 412, 6,800 by 700, 690,000 shares. I know The Voice was working this weekend, and as he puts it, we're not going to quit. We're not going ever. Well, Fahad, it's possible Finger could do like HKD. And I wanted to print out, I wanted Jardu wings. Yeah, they taking. Yeah, I know, but I know FK Alpine. I agree. Seeing green today. Thanks. That lamp, my sister gave it to me. I used to have in my old house. Anyway, I had a fireplace. I had a little place, a bar. That looked good there. But those are, as my stepmother told me, you age out of things. And that's what happens. Life goes on. So wait till next summer. What? No flowers? Yeah, I have flowers there. Can you see them? It's the same ones I had before. I didn't know exactly. Maybe I should shift down and then you can see everything, but maybe I'll do that next time. It's a learning experience. I came inside simply because there's construction outside. Sorry about that. There's construction outside, but there's also, it's hot. It's humid. Summer's here. And I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy the humidity. I don't mind the heat as much, but the humidity I do not enjoy. So I decided I'd try to see if I could do something here. Just learning as I go. Yeah, Finger is getting hot, and I think Finger's going to go. So let me just, right now it's 410, 405 to 410. Just off the top of my head, 2 or 3 things. One, if it does go, it'll be violent action. It'll go up, and then it'll snap down. It'll be like being on an airliner with going through air pockets. So on the one hand, trade if you want. On the other hand, don't be shaken out. So it's kind of confusing. That's one thing I want to say. 2, you're not going to get the trade correct, 100% of the trade correct. So don't be hard on yourself, but have your GTCs in there. Take money off the table as it goes up. But there's every possibility like I think it was Spiny that just said, there's every possibility this could be like a HKD or a TOP or WTOP. On the other hand, it could fizzle out. That's why you gotta just take some money off the table. I don't think if we take our money off, it's going to change the outcome at all. I guess the third or fourth thing I would point out is that the Lynn partners at all, whoever and or other customers of Benchmark, were already in trouble. They were already in trouble. So I don't really see this as there being much time for the criminals to rescue themselves. They tried at the end of the day, and this is what I drew. I found it out on the deck. This is what I drew when I first started sort of talking to you just a couple of weeks ago. And this I don't know what that beep was. This is the big triangle, which I think means up. But I also tried to draw a parallel line from this bottom line here. And where that parallel line crossed over here, I thought, and I may have said it, is resistance on the way up, and then it becomes support on the way down. Well, sure enough, I drew in the red here, and then I drew that circle of gray. But sure enough, it went up maybe 450 if you count the pre-market. And then it pulled back right to there, and that became support. I don't know how much you can use charts for squeezes. But one thing I'll show you about this chart, look at the size of that pennant. If you turn it on its side, I think that's how high this thing could go. Hang on one second. Well, let me just, hang on one second. Okay, we're going to get feedback. We're going to get feedback from the hamster in 4 minutes. So that's good news, huh? That is good news. That will be very good news. I think this thing is about to take off. What did NJ say? Yeah, happy. Don't forget what Ham says. When it gap. Oh, gap up. Yeah. I need a light bright. What the heck is a light bright? Well, I have to look it up. Yeah, chicks dig that lamp. They all married somebody else. The criminals are losing money. I don't know what AFIB is, NJ, but I'm sorry. I have a whiteboard. Hey, Jenny, Rebecca. All right, so I'll let you guys talk amongst yourselves because What's AFib? AFib. Fibrillator? Oh, I never had one, no. Yeah, I know Kyrgos dropped out, but he wasn't probably ready. That's probably how you attracted your husband, a lamp just like that. Yeah, heart condition. So in the first half of the draw, I got one wrong. In the other half, I got, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got a bunch wrong. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wrong so far. In the top half, bottom half, I got one wrong so far. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, the Lucky is old. but we had fun. He got a little scared of the uh, fireworks last night. All right, so I have to call in right now. So let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's really go. Got to find the number. Can't find it. Oh, here it is. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, everybody, welcome back from your long weekend. Again, today is Wednesday, and the week's going to be over shortly. Again, this is not to buy or sell. This is for educational purposes on naked short selling. We will give you our opinions on options and whatever else we're yapping about, but me, William, is here today with me also. For your old timers, a couple of shareholders said that me and William are like Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon now. So it's a perfect combination for those people that don't know.
The voice.
The voice. Anyway, let's get going straight out of the gate here. I'm just going to talk about finger motion to start out with. And for those who don't understand it, the options that are trading, there's about 20,000 is open interest on the calls, which with really nothing on the short on the put side. So everyone's betting to the upside. And so you understand, 20,000 calls times 100 shares, these guys are short 2 million more shares of stock, but options. And that's what makes it super dangerous. And this is the formula for GameStop. Once they get the options and they're upside down like this, each time they sell calls, they're getting short more and more shares. So basically, if it's Lynn Partner and their friends selling the calls, trying to stop the upside momentum, they just double short. They're short the stock, they're short the options. It is the, think about doubling down and tripling down on anything you ever did. It never pans out. I've always lost whenever I triple down on anything. So again, these guys are playing with fire. And for those who don't understand options, when you buy the call, someone sells it to you. If the stock goes up, they need to deliver the stock. So basically, they're short. It's the same thing, only you're getting a lot of leverage with options. One other thing, William, I wanted to tell people about options. Options are always changing prices depending on the stock or buyers coming into it. So, sometimes you may see options with the same offer price. I put it up before. The $5s and the $6 calls both had a 40-cent offer. If you're going to buy them, the 40 cents of the 5s is better than the 40 cents of the 6. Now they're getting in line right now, where there's a 10-cent spread between the $5 and the $6 calls, the 50-cent offer on the 5, and the 40 cents offer on the 6s. Okay, there's a 10-cent spread. And then I go to the 7s, and there's a 5-cent spread between the 6s and the 7s. So each one has, the prices are always changing. And, if you're an option player, you're always watching to take advantage of when they make a mistake. So you got to be on top of it, understand it, follow it, memorize it. That's how you take advantage of it. All right. I'm not in the option game. So I'm just watching it and trying to help people understand it. Just remember this, William. I'll just get stuff off my chest and then we'll discuss it. Every share of stock that these idiots have sold in the last 12 days is officially underwater. All of it. So they've been blasting this stock below 2. I think it was June 10th or something, the 12th, I think the day was. The last 12 trading days, we traded over $1 million something every day. It's officially every share is underwater. So just to show you what fraud is all about, you're watching it. No one stays there and takes all this beating and still be underwater. Now think about the real short, the guy that's short 313,000 shares. I think that's the number. He went up a little bit. He's underwater again. He's shorted $1.50. He's down 3 points on this thing, and yet they stand. That just tells you that the activity on the sell side is all fraudulent. We'll get the updated on the new short. I forgot the date. I'll go back and look and I'll post it. But again, everything is just bubbling towards an eruption soon in the stock. The option volume is there. The company's fundamentals are there. The banking firm, a benchmark, has given everyone, to me, is the bottom of the stock is going to be $5. They said that in their report. So what's the fear? Why is someone trying to continually hold it down? I told you before, if I was a short seller, I would have driven this stock up to 8 and 9 and roped in as many longs as I can and then destroyed it and really put a hurting on you. But they cannot let it go up, and that's because of margin. So that's why they keep trying to sell it to you cheaper, which is just basically just building an eruption. This is the same pattern, the exact pattern as GameStop. The exact. Most of you don't know it. They didn't see it. I followed it every day at 375. They were holding it down until they couldn't hold it down anymore. And then we had an eruption. Again, for those who don't understand it, I follow naked shorts only. I don't give a shit what a company does. All right? I follow naked shorts. These are people that are selling shares that they don't own. They're creating. It's a sale of an unregistered security. They belong in jail. And I posted every day about that guy, Savvy. He bought a $10 million apartment on Fisher Island. You guys have to understand how exclusive that is. And this guy came up with $10 million to buy an apartment, and they actually wrote a story about it. You'd think as a crook he would hide his name and go hide it, but no, they're out. They're so brazen, they don't even care. They're bragging about the money they stole. If you go back to that movie, The Big Short, I remember them being at the convention with the brokers who were doing the mortgages, and I forgot the gentleman's name, the actor. He says, what are they doing? They says, they're bragging. They're not that stupid. They're so stupid, they're bragging about how much money they're making. It's the same pattern here. All right, so just one other thing, and then we'll touch on all the subjects. MULN has finally joined the fight. Hallelujah. I don't know why he waited so long, but again, I referred him to Wes, and now Wes has a nice big client, guy making electric cars, real business, and hopefully Wes will get on the wagon here and help support the new movie coming out from Christina Copeland, who's raising money to do a new naked short story. I'm actually reaching out to some people at Netflix that we know that do documentaries, so we'll get her funded and get a story out there again, outlining what we see. I don't need to hear from GameStop people who held on and got ripped off. Okay, that's over with. The street buried them already, and you know what? It's that I still don't know how they allow it to happen, but time has moved on and killed them all. But again, this is a new day. We've been a different fight for a long time. And any questions, again, William, you can take care of that. I wanted to just go over double shorts, the options, Mullen, Finger. I went over. I did the weighted average on all these sales today is 381 or 382 now. So every share today is on the water. Every share in the last 12 days is officially on the water. Option volume is expanding, meaning people are buying calls. And you remember, when you buy the calls, someone is short those things. Anyway, William, I'm sorry for
well, no. You did it. Everyone wants to hear the voice. I just will point out that Lind Partners et al., whoever or, they were already in trouble, and now they're in worse trouble.
Right.
So.
Well, listen, there's been many people that are professionals. Okay. I highlighted Wolf when Yorkville was on it at below $1, and friends of mine bought 6 million shares, and they're moving at it slowly, but they don't want to give it up now because the stock looks so good. But again, the most important thing is the venture, the toxic debt was paid off. It was paid off in Wolf. It was paid off in Finger, and it was paid off in GTII. All these stocks have that in common. Okay, the devils are exposed. They're short, and they can't cover. There's no way to cover. They have no right to any stock at the company anymore. And the stocks all act differently once that is paid off. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, there might be a lag between. I assume there's a lawyer that gives some sort of cover letter as saying, well, we've got some protection. There might be a lag before the prime broker knows they don't have protection anymore. But this is putting pressure, 140, 150 million shares, all upside down. It's pressure on the prime broker, and I don't know how much longer they can hold that position.
Just look at the guy who blew up Credit Suisse, and he was on the long side, right?
Right.
The more Credit Suisse, they lost billions. Credit Suisse went out of business. This is how big the fraud is on Wall Street now. They created these monster plays, and it's due to fraudulent activity. I keep telling people my favorite two, like the two that I follow, is GTI and Finger Motion are my favorites because they paid off the toxic notes. Okay, the shorts have no way of getting stock from the company, and they just keep selling more because that's all they can do. And if the government were to step up any enforcement action like they did against Savvy, these stocks would be screaming. But you know what? There's other things in the universe that make stocks move, and hopefully we'll see something soon because it looks like something's happening. Okay, in Finger looks to me like the cat's out of the bag on this one. Everybody knows. People know Lynn's in trouble. I think Lynn knows they're in trouble, and they're a different. I believe they're a different character than the GTI shorts. The GTI shorts, I told you, are just kamikazes. They don't give a shit about anything. And the Finger Motion short is a Madison Avenue guy who's going to take his beating. His friends in Australia will distance himself from him. They'll get blown up, and that'll be the end of that. That'll be the end of these guys.
So there's a bunch of questions, but I think this one's pretty much the best one to talk about. If people buy the July calls or August calls or November calls, and we do indeed start to quote unquote squeeze, how would you trade out of the calls?
Well, again, I was an option player. And when you play options, your goal is to always stay alive.
Right.
So when a stock is screaming, you want to make sure, like I tell everybody, your most important thing in options, because you are making a bet on the timing of the event. So right now, the timing of the event is July 21st, I think is when they expire. Is that correct?
I didn't hear what you said.
The options expire on the 21st.
21st, yeah, the 21st, yep.
So everyone is sort of telling us, the stock is telling me, the options are telling me that the event is happening between now and July 21st. So the way I trade it is, when they start to run, you sell a 1, 2, 3 at a time, and you keep taking your money off the table. If you paid 30 cents and there's 70, you sell 2. And, you're getting options for free. Every time you own it for free, you never lose. Don't get me wrong, I speculated a zillion times. Okay, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But the more I always take money off the table, the bigger the home runs I made. Or I rolled up, I sold the 5s and I buy the 7s. If I bought 5s at a quarter and sold them at 70 cents, I could buy 2 options of the 7s for free.
Right.
I take my money off the table. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to play it. Again, everything is tradable. You know, don't stand there like the Statue of Liberty. You know, you can do whatever you like. But options, the name of the game is to try to stay alive all the time. And I was a trader, and all I wanted to do was, I wanted to, at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw. I wanted to have as many as I could with the least amount of money on the table.
That's right. And
that's the way I played. And you know what? Sometimes, and you know, Dirty Mayo, I helped him one time. I helped him out. I think I helped him where he had 5,000 calls for free in a stock. It didn't work out.
But they were for free. Yeah.
5,000, not 5, not 500, 5,000 calls. And I can't remember. I think it was a medical company. But, you know, just by rolling and playing, he wound up having 5,000 calls, which is a massive position. But, you know, every time it goes up, you know, he's making $50,000 every dollar. I mean, that's huge money. I mean, that's how you're supposed to play. All right, you want to do stuff like that, you know, things like that. Oh, GENE was the symbol. Sorry, I knew it was something. But again, that stock is under attack also. GENE, GERN, all those stocks.
MULN traded over $1 billion today. Is it all
Holy
fake?
cow.
Is it all fake?
I haven't really watched it. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
You know, again, that guy had the game when I first spoke with him, and he's come out of the closet now. And you know, it's better late than never. He's here. He helps all of us. He's putting pressure on it. Everyone knows about it, and this all goes back to Washington D.C., the SEC. All right, this is not quiet. The more people talk about it, the more it's going to help the stocks that are on the forefront. The stocks, to me, that are on the forefront are Finger Motion, GTII, again, a stock like Wolf. These stocks have got rid of the debt spiral people. And once you get rid of them, it's a different world, all right? You have to fight through it, but it's a different world.
So there was bad, I can't tell if it was bad news. I don't think you're going to know the answer. But Not Legal Advice, who gives excellent advice that's not legal. He just found out that the Alpine case for GTII, that the expedited, I don't have the language to use here, but the the injunction,
William,
the injunction was granted to stop the expedited.
So it's going to be a long, drawn out thing, right?
Well, I don't think it's going to be that long. That's why I don't think it's that bad.
Listen, what's going on in those court cases? You know, you got every agency's on GTI side versus Alpine. There's no way these guys are coming out of this alive. So whatever the day it is, we don't control the court case. Like we don't control West Christian his court case. We don't control any of this stuff. But it's all pressure on the stock settlement system, naked shorts. It's all about exposing that. And that's all, to me, it's all fantastic news.
Yeah, it's weird how they cover up for it because I don't see any benefit to America in this crime.
They allowed it to go on. The SEC, it's going on 35 years, not 35 weeks, 35 years.
So, I'm not going to say who says it, and I'm not going to even read it. Somebody's not impressed with a CEO, but I'm not going to read it out. Can Vansy Kiev, who always asks the to-the-point questions, can finger rocket to hundreds of dollars a share?
I think it's going to go from 406 to 407. How's that?
You think it is?
Listen,
what's the play at 407?
I've been here for 5 years in Finger Motion. I watched the company go from a gaming company to one of the biggest players in China, telecom, mobile telecom, insurance, data, you name it. It's all on the tape. Just watch the video. It's right there. This company is becoming a monster in China, a monster. And you just, it's right here. The only problem they had is they raised money through Lynn. They paid them off, and now Lynn is trapped, and they can't let it go up. Okay? They paid off the debt. You trapped the rat, and now what happens? Once the rat is dead, the stock is going to have a completely different look to it, and that's when these guys are going to go away. That's it, when they go broke. So they want to sit here and play to the end. It's okay. The company's fundamentals are secure. They're fully funded. Okay, we know people that bought in and put millions of dollars into the company. They're not going away. No one's rushing to the doors, and it's just the Lynn Partners and their network, wherever their trading desk is holding this thing down. They can't let it go up. Margin. I told you what I would do. I would slaughter everybody here. I would take the stock up to 8 and let you guys all wish, oh my God, it's going, then kill it. But they can't let it go up because they can't afford the trade. All right?
Where do you think where do you think the trade, as we're calling it, resides? Is it with, we're at 413.99 right now. Is it with the Lynn Partners, or did they walk out on the trade already?
Lynn Partners, I have to believe Lynn Partners, listen, just looking at the photo of those four, there's no way those people work on a trading desk. They're paper pushers. They're just getting people to sign these notes. I've never been in their office. I don't know them. But they're probably smooth talkers. We'll give you the money. Here's the check. We won't short your stock. That's what they are.
Right.
When push comes to shove, these guys are going to fold. All right? There's not even a question about that. They'll take the hit like Melvin Capital. They lost $9 billion. They take the hit. You know, people will have to bail them out. If they don't bail them out, they go bankrupt, and that's the end of it. But
well, when they take the hit, it'll be the one LLC that owns this position,
right?
Or the several.
I'm sure they have many LLCs, just like Alpine and the Kramers do.
Right.
They limit their liability to the LLC, limited liability. That's what they do.
Right.
All right. No one's going to tie a GTII or a finger short position that could blow up and lose billions of dollars to a major fund and drag that down. So they separate these liabilities.
Right. Do you think it's Jeffries who is their broker, prime broker?
Prime broker, that's what we heard before. I've been reaching out to the gentleman that knows the CEO of Jeffries, trying to get an answer on that.
Are you able to talk about what is the rumor of trillions of shares or dollars? I don't know which.
Yeah, I heard that through West Christian, that they're saying that there's they're parking a lot of fails to deliver are parked in Germany. Trillions of dollars.
Unbelievable.
Trillions. That's how much these guys have looted, and it's parked in Germany. And we all think that the good stocks are going to go down and the shitty stocks are going to go up. So I don't want to call Finger a shitty stock, but it's not NVIDIA, it's not Apple. Those are the real companies. They will sell those stocks to raise money to take care of all the other liabilities of the system. And I do think that the market will collapse in due time.
Let's talk about that quickly. So there's, it's the S&P 6 or 7 stocks that are all up on helium. If a prime broker gets in trouble, if one of these companies squeezes, do you think it's safe to stay in NVIDIA or Apple?
I believe that this mess is going to be a huge chain reaction when it happens.
Right.
But the banking, think about, everyone keeps forgetting that Silicon Valley Bank, billions were lost and stolen. And they think that mess went away. Credit Suisse, when it got blown up by that guy, I can't remember the money manager's name. Who was on the
Bill Argos? Bill.
Yeah, right. Everyone thought it was like, oh, he just lost $10, $15 billion, no big deal. What happened 2 months later? Credit Suisse was gone. The Mora took a beating. They all took beatings from it, right?
Right.
The system can't keep losing billions of dollars like it's fake money. These are real monster beatings. This is like major league stuff. Finger motion, yeah.
Well, I was just wondering that with the Kramers and Alpine, they seem to have a symbiotic relationship of fraud and crime and sloppiness and arrogance. Do you think with the Lynn partners, if they use Jeffries, somebody like Jeffries, do you think Jeffries will give as long a leash as Alpine gave the Kramers?
No. The brokerage firms are not going to drag down their whole empire over Lynn partners or anything like that. They'll shut them down immediately.
And the number that Tom Ronk gave was right around $5.30 as the squeeze.
Yeah, I think that number's lower now, and every day that they sell stock below that, that number keeps coming lower. And from what I gathered, at $5, let's say 29 cents. Once that happens, all the algorithms turn off on the sell side, and they become buyers because everything is upside down. Every share that was sold is in the negative. So again, this is getting close to the end of the day for these characters.
Bill Wang.
Yeah,
Something like that.
And he was on the long side, and he destroyed companies. Destroyed them. He put Credit Suisse out.
The bid's going up as we're talking. Do you think this will, if Finger goes up, it'll have good impact on GTII?
Well, we know for some crazy reason they're tied to the hip. I don't know why, but one will drag the other guy up. I told you I had friends that were selling some wolf today, and they were buying GTII. So, they're putting money back into the stocks. When they get profit, they're coming into it. That's how you're supposed to play. If you're making money, you move it to things that you like and understand, and you catch the bottom on a different name. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's the way it goes.
Somebody wants to send you some cannolis. Leave the gun. Leave the gun. Take the cannoli. So this is I don't know why you'd know the answer, but two people are moving their accounts right now for some reason from TD Ameritrade to IBKR, which is I can never remember. Will they be able to trade their July options? I guess you got to call your broker. I don't know.
Yeah, they're trading. They're moving their accounts.
Yeah, they're moving their account. Look, when I did it, as soon as you got notice, the account traded instantaneously.
Yeah, that's what I can't imagine that in this day of electronics, everything is so fast, and all of a sudden that the technology doesn't work.
The receiving broker. It was as soon as you got the notice, the receiving broker could enter trades. The bid is now 415. The ask is 418.80. That's the last trade. 418. The last trade 419.
Again,
424.
There are smart people who can see the information, the proof. Tom Ronk, who's nice enough to give us the data. I've sent it to everyone I know on Wall Street to
interactive brokers.
The opportunity.
Yeah.
You have to look at the opportunity that's here based on data. Data is, you can't, listen, people lie, data doesn't lie. It's right there. It's right in front of you. We can see it. You can see the trading. You can see they try to hold it down, the momentum all the time. Like I said, if it wasn't a problem, they let it go up. There's a problem, they can't let it go up. The options are, let's see what the options are doing. Give me a second. All right, so the options are starting to pick up some volume, and the fours are up to 1,700 options now. That's pretty big. And people are buying the options.
You got 5,503. That's a communication on the bid. The ask is an even 1,000.
This is a little more sophisticated than the Kramers and their network of rats talking to each other. This is a little bit different. This stock, it's a NASDAQ company. People ask me all the time, will they stop it from trading? Absolutely not. That stopping the buy button went out the window with Robinhood and GameStop. That's over with. They won't be able to stand in front of anyone to do that again. All right, so it's just a matter of when these guys fold. Again, if there wasn't a problem, they let it go up. They can't let it go up. There's the problem. It's pretty easy. Again, Accumulation is always the best way to beat these characters. Again, they won't even, I always talk about spikes in a stock being dangerous. Right? They don't even let it spike. This is a spike of 59 cents. A spike is up $3, $4 on a stock. They don't even let you do that.
Well,
Okay?
we got less than a minute to the close, I think, or a minute or so to the close. The bid is 420. Maybe you're looking at it. I always assume you can't see
Nah,
it.
I don't. I look every once in a while. Listen again. It doesn't make a difference. They have nowhere to go. They're short 150 million shares. Let's say they're short 10 million shares. They haven't bought back anything. Pick a number. They don't cover anything. They just keep selling and hoping that the longs would give up. But again, this stock has very different feeling than anything else. It has option buying, again, which is just throwing gasoline on the shorts, okay, and longs buying the stock and no one's selling it.
They're fighting for pennies here at the close.
That's what they do. They hurry up, mark it down. Oh, it's going to close at 410, 415, whatever it is. They need to mark it down because they get margin problems. They just, it's just the way it goes. That's just the way it is.
It closed
to touch base
420.
with anybody. You have any more questions? Because I'll go out and play some.
Yeah, let's see. Not a whole lot. Did you see the letter? I think you put it up. The letter from Pete Sessions to Gensler. Is that worth talking? Jim Jordan, Patrick McHenry.
I did see that, yes.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but
listen, the politicians, they all do tap dance, and Pete Sessions to me is a disgrace. I was in his office talking to the guy Tucker. You were with me. We educated him. He's the general counsel. We went through everything with him. And to sit here and not have the nerve to stand up for the people of Texas, he's a disgrace.
Well, we don't know that. It's just, they're just human beings. They're all intimidated.
That's my opinion of it.
They're all intimidated by these.
That's my opinion of
Yeah.
it. Listen, I went in there. I wasted my time, my money. I drove down. I'm not even from the state of Texas. I tried to help out. I just helped the people in Texas out. To me, it's like they don't even give a shit. I don't care.
All right, so do you think Finger goes first, GTII, and what do you think about Wolf?
I think they're going to attach themselves together. I think they're both going to go at the same time. Don't ask me why, but that's what happens. I don't know.
Somebody's telling you not to hit little old ladies when you play pickleball.
I can't. They just stand there. What am I supposed to do? I apologize after I nail it, but it's okay. I don't play pickleball where you drop it back and forth. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
That doesn't
Listen,
seem...
if I was playing with William, I'd put it off his forehead 9 out of 10 times. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
It doesn't seem very kind to little old ladies.
No, it isn't. But again, it's just the way you play the game. You wouldn't play with, what was his name? Who had the big serve in tennis years ago? One of the left.
Isner? No.
One of the older guys,
Sampras?
Yeah, Sampras had a big serve, 130. What's he going to do if he's just going to keep hitting the same stupid serve? That's what you do. That's the game. You can't change the game to play people. If you want to get on the court and you're out there, you get mowed down. That's just the way it is.
So what volume or what price action would convince you that we're in the middle of some sort of...
You're in the tail end of what's going to happen here. It's getting ready.
Not tail end, the beginning, right?
I mean, the tail end before it goes. The tail end of the manipulations coming to an end.
Okay.
You're watching the death of a short seller.
So if they were in trouble a week ago and they drove it down, now it's higher than it was then. Do you think they have margin calls to deal with?
I think they have a huge problem because the option position is biting them on the ass also.
That's a gamma squeeze potential?
That's where you're going to get it. It's got there's over 20,000 calls that traded. I mean, the open interest is 20,000 calls.
So what's the prime broker calling up tonight saying, Jeff, we need some money tomorrow?
He's saying to them, I'm sure he's calling them up as this is how it's going to go. hi, this is XYZ, your prime broker. They're going to say, are you fucking out of your mind? What are you doing? That's what they're going to say. Who's running this ship? How are we giving you one more minute of life? That's what they're saying. I mean, that's just how I see it. And you know what? Real people are following the situation. That's, I can't tell you if they're buying, what they do, how they operate, but there's real big money all around this finger motion thing. And you know what? I can't tell you how they operate, how they do things. I don't know. But everyone knows the story. I've spoke to 6 brokers today who called me and asked me the story, and I went over the phone on conference calls based on proof, data, trading patterns, what you see, no hearsay, all basically what we see on the tape and we post every day. And you know what? Wall Street loves a short squeeze, all right? And that's what I follow. I don't care about companies' fundamentals. The game is rigged. Just look at the guy from Volkswagen, a billionaire worth $9 billion. He lost everything short Volkswagen. That's all it takes. And the guy jumped in front of a train. That tells you all you need to know about how deadly a short squeeze can be.
It can go up almost as quickly as it comes back down when it squeezes.
Well, that's funny that someone said that to me because, if this thing squeezes, it can come down fast. I says, if it goes to the moon and back down and you're still long, I says, then please give me a call because I want to make a movie out of how stupid you are.
Yeah.
Please, when it goes, you need to make sales. Don't be afraid, all right? You're never going to ring the top. No one ever rings the
Absolutely.
bell. I never knew anybody who did it.
You're not going to get an A+. A D minus is good
On
enough.
a squeeze like GameStop, getting like I told you, the highest we sold it was 118. Okay,
Well,
and I was in at 3 3/4, 118. When we watched it to go to 550, we were all looking to jump out of a window, thinking what idiots we were. All right, so you do is you retool yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So I'll just make sales as I see fit, all the ways up, get my money off the table, and you learn by your mistakes. So I gave you my mistakes, so now I learned. That's it.
Well, on the margin call, it was sort of up on Monday, kind of, not a lot. But today it's up. You wouldn't have expected a margin call today.
Wait, just so you know, I had Dirty Mayo ring the bell and DWAC. He was in the bathroom when I called him, and I begged him to sell, and he did, and he sold it at 175. He just texted me. He just reminded me. So actually, I'm completely wrong. I actually helped someone ring the bell, so that's the first person I know who ever got the top. There you go, DWAC.
On Trump's Truth Social.
Yeah, DWAC, 175.
Well, Dirty Mayo's a good trader. He got out of... Anyway, I won't
He was
mention...
in the bathroom. He had no idea what was going on. I had to call him in the toilet. Give me a break.
He goes to the bathroom pretty well, too. Well, I don't know. We don't really have a whole lot of other questions. We can have another call tomorrow, but...
yeah, we'll just go through it. Again, tomorrow's a new day, short week.
Just humor me a little bit. What if there's a margin call now, after market today? What happens is there a buy-in in the morning? Is there stress on these bastards tomorrow?
I think they generate the margin calls, tonight, and will be on their desk in the morning. And by 10 o'clock, they need to come up with the money. You don't show up with the money, they buy you in. It's over.
Unbelievable.
One buy-in will trigger the whole thing. So what are we looking for, Finger? We're looking for, the SEC. We have the SEC could put pressure on them. We have their prime broker could put pressure on them. We have West Christian, who's on board on this stock. All right? We have options. We have shorts. I mean, it's just the company's fundamentals are real. We have their benchmark telling us it's worth 5+. What more do you want? Who keeps trying to sell it down?
Could if you bought the entire float, would that help? There was a company that happened to, and it didn't help him.
Yes, I remember it a long time ago. Yes.
It's so much fraud. Somebody here is asking, when it's up, should we buy puts? My answer is no, because the premium will be so high. But maybe you can answer that. Is there a trade on the put side?
Of course there's a trade on the put side. Good luck in finding it. That's the whole... Listen, this thing may spin out of control. I'll give you for example. Let's say it takes off tomorrow. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I'm going to buy puts because I think I'm a smartass. Next week, it goes 70, 80, 80, 80, 100, 100. GameStop is still spinning out of control for how many years now?
Right.
I know they did a reverse. I can't remember what the numbers were. You know, where would it be today with the reverse in it? I don't know the pricing. I can't remember. But again, it's been around a long time. I mean, once they start spinning out of control, it can go for years. Absolutely, the stock is going to be a play on the put side down the road. So buy one at a time. That's the only you can do. You get an average price. Who the hell knows how high it's going to go? Again, but it's not just going to go ring a bell and drop back down. That's not going to happen. It's going to come down like an elevator. It's going to drop like from the 70th floor to the 50th floor to the 30th floor, go from the 30th back up to the 70, back up to the 100, back, it's going to do crazy things like that. That's what I see happening.
If you own the August $2 calls, would you exercise them?
Exercise them.
That's what somebody's asking. Yeah.
Why would you exercise them for? You want to be long stock? Is that what you want to do?
I guess you want to be long stock. I don't know.
August 2 is the 2 to 3, 2 to a quarter. There's no premium in them at all. Right?
Someone's asking you the price targets, which you don't know. And why do you think this fraud has become so pervasive? Is it political donations? Somebody's asking.
It's once you're on the inside, it looks pretty easy. What's there to do? You get someone to sign a note. Before you give them the money, you sell their stock, give them their shareholders' money right back to the company.
Mm-hmm.
Have no risk. You just sit there. Then you get some free warrants, and who cares what happens? That's what they do, and they just keep trading your stock and pin you. Look at CELU. I told you they never gave the name of the person who gave him $6 million.
Because there wasn't anyone.
No. They said it in the press release is one investor. No one knows the name. They need to file. They own a big position. No one's ever seen their name. That means they've been selling into it. That's it.
So if there's... I don't know how to answer this, so you'll be teaching me if you do. If there's a gamma squeeze, is it better to own August calls instead of July?
I look at it this way. Whatever's happening is happening now. That's what the option tells me. The action in the stock and the options tell me it's showtime. All you did was August was buy more premium into something. That's all you did. If I was long the August 2s, I would sell those and move into the 7s for July. Take my money off the table. If I paid 50 cents for them and I sold them at 2, you make $1.50. Put $1 in your pocket as profit and buy 50 cents worth of calls of the 7s. What's the big deal?
Here's a real gentleman. He doesn't own Finger, but he's all in GTII, but he hopes everyone makes money. But I think this is going to have a positive impact on GTII.
Again, I posted it before. GTI started the war. People are following GTI's blueprint. The name that everybody knows is GTII. Yeah. Again, I told you I had some friends that sold Wolf today, and they said they're going to buy GTII, and you can see they started buying it.
Yeah.
They're moving money from one position that worked out into another position. Why didn't they buy Finger? I don't know. They said they wanted to buy GTI. I says, good luck. That's what they did. And these are people making their own decisions. They could see it. Again, we're not letting GTI die. We're going to get these guys also. I can't help what goes on with West. I can't help what goes on with Alpine. I can't help what goes on with the Kramers. If the SEC caught savvy You know they're catching the Kramers. You know they're catching the rest of these characters. It's just a matter of time, when they get them all.
Somebody's asking about. I'm not going to even ask that question. I think it's ridiculous. Would you buy Wolf here?
It's tough. I think actually, if you said to me, "What do you think of Wolf?" Wolf is breaking out. I don't know how they held it down for so long. Okay, they actually held this stock down. It's only moved $1.25 since we've been in it. So it really hasn't moved. I watched the other stocks, Mara and Riot, move like crazy. Okay, again, Wolf, these guys are the real deal. I met them. They understand power. They built nuclear power plants. These guys are the real deal. They got the cheapest rate. The whole thing about Bitcoin mining is the rate on how you make money, your power rate, how much you're spending to generate it. And those guys have the lowest cost. Okay, they make money at Bitcoin. I think it was Bitcoin 3,000 they make money at. So Bitcoin is 30-something thousand. So they're just printing 200,000-300,000 a month to profit off of that mining. I think some crazy number like that.
Do you know how many shares are short?
I don't know. I never had that number.
So these guys are nuclear engineers.
They built nuclear power plants. They know everything about electricity, power, and the cost. Mara, Riot do not know it. I'm surprised that one of those other companies has not purchased that other company yet. To me, that's a perfect takeover play. Grab their infrastructure, because they are tied to a nuclear power plant. So I don't know how they not, done that yet. But who knows? Again, I guess on a pullback, it's hard for me to tell you to do it. I was buying stock between 60 cents and $1.
I don't know if this person is serious or not. She's a woman. She might be serious, but she's asking, is GTI on hold, toast, or is it good for the future?
I think I answered the question 50 times.
Yeah, I thought you did too.
The only thing that drags it down is time, but time is on our side. It's an option that doesn't expire. All the things that we're looking for, I don't control it. There's court cases on spoofing. Okay, I told you we heard someone wants to settle with Wes. I don't know who it is. Let's see if that comes out. Obviously, if they settle, Wes is going to ask them to let him off the hook, obviously, for their clients, right? So they're probably negotiating on that. And when that comes out, that changes the game, right?
Right.
If the Alpine mess and the DTC or the SEC clamp down on Alpine more to get more information about that, that can make the stock ignite. There's a lot of things that can make it go. All right, so where are they going with it? Obviously, they can't push it to zero. It's not going to zero, so where are they going?
No, Kathy, it's okay. I know you came on late. She came on late, so she meant well by that question.
Oh, no, I don't.
Because she hears us talking about Finger instead of GTII. Personally, I think they'll move together. So somebody's asking, which is not a bad question to talk about why it happens, and there's some risk in it. But why do they create higher strike prices in options?
Well, they try to do it as the stock moves up. They're trying to entice business. People want to keep playing it, or they roll up. These are things that, and they needed to keep trying to create a hedge. On the other side, they needed to create a hedge. Obviously, the volume is going to leave the $2 calls, go to the 4s, the 5s, and I think all the volume is in the 5s. I think that's where it is now. I'm not even.
And I think 7s too. I think the risk is that it's all time premium, so they. We're the suckers if we buy them.
Volume. People stop buying. Listen, I was always told to play with the trash, which is the cheaper options, right? And, the cheaper options that's where the volume is. So the $2 calls, if it's just you as a market maker and there's nobody buying them, where are you going with it, right? You're going to sell it to yourself? What are you going to do?
Somebody's asking what's happening in Fidelity to the GTII dividend.
It's still restricted.
It's still restricted, yeah.
If you look at it, MMTLP was what? A dividend. How'd that pan out? Did it turn into a mess?
Right.
Right?
All right.
So that's what dividends do to the street. It creates a mess.
Yeah.
I'm sure time is coming.
Well, there's a point on Wolf that I can't verify, so I'm not going to read it out. There's not really that many more questions. I think things could get exciting tomorrow morning if there's a cash call. I think.
I don't wake up doing that anymore. It's like a game show when you least expect it, like Candid Camera from 100 years ago. When you least expect it, that's when it happens. So go home, enjoy your dinner, enjoy your families. That's all you can say. We don't have the pressure. The pressure's on the bad guys. They have to sit here. We know what's going on. The street knows what's going on. Like I said, I get many calls from very interesting people that are following it. The proof is available. We sent out the information. Again, this is, again, I don't know when partners from a hole in the wall. All right? These guys are on the wrong side of a trade, and they're trying to manipulate and steal our money. It ain't happening. All right? We're not going away. And you know what? We get stronger. All right? So if it's tomorrow, I hope it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. If it's Friday, it's Friday. If it's Monday, it's Monday. Whenever it happens, it will happen because they can't stay short forever. It's going to change. The game has changed. Okay, when companies like MULN are joining the fight, MMTLP, that crowd has been outstanding, and I'm with them, and I can't believe they're still locked up. But everyone exposing the fraud that you taught us about, William, all this time about making shorts.
You did it.
Is now getting it's all over the place, and you know what? People don't think that you're crazy William. That's all I ever hear about. Crazy William, crazy Bill. He's crazy. I mean, while he was right the whole time, right? There you go.
Genius Ham, and he was wrong.
Ham is an idiot, and he was lucky. He threw a dart and he hit it. He caught it right.
So, someone just said that they're less optimistic on GTII because Alpine just got their way in court. I don't see it that way at all. All they did is lengthen the plank they're walking off. Alpine's dead. There's no way out for Alpine.
If you think Alpine's going to win, call them up and invest with them. They're going to come out of this they're going to come out smelling like a rose. Sure they are.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
They're fighting for their freedom. They're going to get caught. Everybody knows they're criminals. Again, this is the United States. The system is working backwards. In New York City, San Francisco, they get criminals. They murder people. They let them out. It's the same thing in the stock market. Why are they letting these guys even have another hour? I have no idea. But that's for the court system, not for me to do. Wes Christian is on GTII. I just told you. He's got brokers, market makers that want to settle. Okay, I don't know who it is, but if that talk is going around, that doesn't sound like they're winning. Okay, we're optimistic. We're not going away. I haven't quit. I want to talk about a stock that does nothing every day. So Finger Motion just happened to jump in play, and it happened, right?
Well,
that's how it goes.
This gentleman's pointing out that just thinks GTI will take longer. I don't really agree with that. A lot of the buy-in, it's not really so much the margin call you're waiting for. You're waiting for buy-ins. And if Alpine gets in trouble with GTII's price going up, they'll buy it in before the legal wrangling is over.
They both ran at the exact same time.
Yeah.
There was no one pushing it. There was nothing. I don't even know what happened. They both took off. Finger motion went to 10, GTI went to 9. Why, how, who? I don't know how it happened. It just happens. That's just the way it went. There's nothing to say.
Yeah, so
That's it?
that's pretty much it. I don't see any more questions to worry your head about.
We'll get up tomorrow and we'll just get ready to fight the battle. That's just the way it goes. You know, we're not going away. The risk reward is enormous on a short squeeze. That's why we follow it. That's why we waste our time. That's why we educate you about it, is because the risk reward is enormous. Education is the most important thing. The SEC, the DTC, FNGR, NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, they all know. The whole world knows. West Christian has said that there's trillions of dollars of fails to deliver parked in Germany. Okay? The system has been looted. Who's been looting it is a terrorist. Until we see a face like Savvy, to me, they're terrorists. That's how I look at it.
Exactly.
All right?
Okay. All right.
Have a great night, everyone. We'll speak tomorrow.
Thank you, Ham. Bye.
You got it.
All right. So let's see if we can find not legal advice. Oh. Cannot legal advice. Urgent. We'll listen to this.
Surprise little video. The order involving the injunction involving GTII and specifically Alpine and FINRA came out today. Some point in time today. I pulled a copy of it, so I have it. If you recall, the issue was whether Alpine could block the expedited proceeding for violations of the cease and desist order before the appeal could be exhausted, since they had filed an appeal.
Sorry for the noise.
So the court ruled today that they are going to grant the injunction so that the appeal, while the appeal is pending, FINRA will not be able to conduct the expedited proceedings. So that's interesting ruling. And it's based in part upon the fact that in a case last year, administrative law judges of the SEC were deemed not to have been properly appointed per the Constitution. So
Weird.
In this opinion, it appears they're granting the injunction because Alpine raised that as an issue that in this case, the FINRA judges, let's say, or hearing panel, were not properly appointed by the executive branch. And what that means is if you're performing some executive function, such as what FINRA's hearing officers would do with discretion, there needs to be an appointment unless the executive branch can directly act on terminating that person. In this case, there's appeals, and SEC would have overall jurisdiction to the FINRA's point. So in essence, there's a couple of layers between the executive branch and the hearing officers, and that's deemed or can be deemed an improper, delegation to these hearing officers. So there's a case up on that came down that the U.S. Supreme Court just took, which is called Juraski or
Jurassic Park,
that I did a video on, and that raised some of the same arguments that this court is relying upon. So in Juraski, one of the issues was this appointment of the fact that the executive branch did not appoint the judges. So this is repeated as that case that's going to the U.S. Supreme Court has.
It's not going to change.
That Juraski case also had some other issues about right to a jury trial, etc. That also maybe come up in this current Alpine case. We don't know yet. And I just looked at the order. So this is after having looked at the order for, 5 minutes, maybe less. But it's the appointments clause they found was the issue. The Court of Appeal, in ruling on this injunction, so the injunction stops the expedited proceeding.
Which is okay.
And so they're complaining that the proceeding was unconstitutional before FINRA, and it would be because their hearing officers are not properly appointed. That's what it comes down to. And this Court of Appeal, as of today, is finding, they think, as of what they've seen, they would think Alpine would succeed in that claim.
Unbelievable.
That doesn't mean that FINRA can't provide judges or hearing officers that might be properly appointed. They're judges or some other hearing officers, but we don't know. Also, what it opens up, and what Jarofsky opens up, and this is kind of like the positive side, it may open up an issue as to whether agencies such as the SEC and FINRA can have immunity. Because if there's not a proper delegation, if they're not acting properly per a delegation, and if the officers are not properly conducting proceedings, does that impact their immunity? And beyond that, and secondarily, does it impact the arbitrations that they are monitoring and controlling? Because it's based upon, I think, their status in the system. If their status is not proper per a improper delegation of authority or violating the Constitution, then that might make the arbitrations improper. But for the time being, what you should know is pending the appeal, FINRA cannot go forward with the expedited proceeding. I don't know how that's going to impact the stock price or the company. It doesn't mean that Alpine, if they have engaged in this activity, won't have to pay the piper. It just will have to be done in a different way. And again, if I were FINRA, and this is not legal advice, of course, I should have said that from the start. If I were FINRA, I would find myself some judges that were properly appointed, whether they be administrative law judges or other judges, to act as hearing officers and use those to overcome that as an issue.
I don't know.
It doesn't
how that
quash all the issues that the prior case Jarkessi raised, but it at least addresses the issues raised by this appellate panel today. So that's it. I'm going to do. I'm doing a live stream, perhaps on this later tonight.
Not legal advice.
JR, but that's the opinion of the court as of today. So the bottom line is, pending appeal, FINRA cannot go forward with trying to enforce the violation of the cease and desist order. That's the bottom line. More to come.
Well, I thought it was about the expedited application of that cease and desist order. I think FINRA has the right to, I don't know how to use this thing. I think FINRA has the right to expel them. Anyway, not legal advice. We'll have a live either tonight or tomorrow. I don't tuck tea. I don't think it's a huge setback at all. Why tuck tea? Alpine is on its last legs. It's not a huge setback. The court is not saying, hey, we're going to open up, let Alpine continue to defraud investors. They've done it 36,000 times in the last year. FINRA would, in this case, FINRA would have to appeal. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I think it just buys a little more time for Alpine to crime. I don't see what it really does to help the case. They're still massively underwater. And if the stock price in GTII goes up, they're going to have a margin call, and there's no court or court of appeals or Supreme Court that can save the Kramers and Alpine from a buy-in caused by massive losses in a short position that has been exaggerated by tens, if not hundreds of millions of counterfeit shares. Think we as retail have had 3 years of losses. Shane Jansen, I don't know if everyone has losses. Lots of people I know sold out of GTII multiple times. I didn't. And own the stock for free, so they don't have any losses. A lot of people are hanging on to AMC and GME like it's gold. They're not gold. They're pieces of paper. And there's still an opportunity to get out of AMC or GME, and I'm not giving advice, and buy Finger, buy GTII, buy MULN. I'm not recommending that until I learn more. But the fact that MULN has hired Wes Christian implies to me they're not going to be doing any more shite deals. All right, not legal advice. Not legal advice. I'm back. JR and I are doing a live stream on this tonight and its potential to limit FINRA's authority and maybe their immunity. I agree, and we will discuss. It's just a delay re-Alpine. All right. I've got to make sure I read this correctly. Okay, at 6:30, he's going to go live with JR on not legal advice. I don't know if I'm going to end at 6:30, but you guys, yeah, definitely. It's only 2 hours away. I'll be off by then, so you guys can go over there. I didn't know. I had no clue what time it was right now. It's interesting. One thing that drives lawyers away from taking the case on short selling, illegal manipulation, is the arbitration clauses, which are embedded in all of the brokerage accounts that you sign. And these are broker-dealers who are the sheep that FINRA is supposed to be protecting. It would be interesting if they smash open the immunity clauses and the immunity which is granted FINRA, which I find sketchy anyway, since FINRA may have committed fraud in the case of MMTLP. But if they break out the arbitration clauses, you're going to see lawyers filing class action suits, and Wall Street is going to have to gird their loins for a battle that could be existential. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, though. I might be over dramatizing this. But I think well, I'm not a lawyer. I think the argument is really sketchy. And if an appeals court found with Alpine, I think they're just CYA-ing, and they just didn't want to stick their head up in this world. There's a lot of money flowing around the markets, buying politicians, buying judges, buying journalists, buying even maybe Treasury secretaries and SEC chairman. I don't know. And I just think this court just passed the buck for the time being. I cannot imagine that the argument that FINRA cannot regulate its own, they're set up as a self-regulating organization. Yes, they're public. Yes, they're a subdivision of the SEC in a way. But I just can't believe that an ultimate view on this would say they can't regulate their own rules. That doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not a lawyer. Will this ruling help MMTLP? I guess you have to tune in to Not Legal Advice at 6:30, but it seems to me that if this ruling, which is not over with, it's just an appeal, and it'll go higher. And I would guess, what month are we in? We're in August. I would guess that the soonest the Supreme Court would listen to anything like this would be October, November, if they even took it up. I don't know. This is just a play for time by Alpine. But to me, if they blew up FINRA's ability to even make rulings on trading and etc., you're basically blowing up FINRA's authority. Maybe it helps MMTLP, but MMTLP is buried in Legalville. You've got 105 broker-dealers. You've got at least 6 or 7 really wealthy guys. That's 110. You've got, at best I can count it, the potential of 5 to 10 prime brokers. That gets you to 125. And then you've got the SEC and FINRA. That's probably teams of a dozen each. So that gets you to 100, let's just call it 150. And then you've got class action suits and the potential of them. I don't know, maybe that gets us right now to 175. And then you've got Flame Buzzer and MMTLP and MMAT and NextBridge. And then potentially you have other players out there in terms of the market makers, in terms of the LLCs, the criminals, offshore. And then you've got the FBI and the Justice Department. I can see a place where there's at least 200 to 250 lawyers involved right now in the MMTLP case. That's a lot of lawyers. And they all have to make sure the facts are in their head. They don't care about hearing it from your head. They don't even really care about hearing it from a journalist. It's got to be in court. It's got to be approved by judges. There's got to be precedents. There's got to be rulings. And it's got to be evidence that they accept. That's 200, 250 lawyers. That's going to take months. It's already taken months. And then there'll be one smart attorney, and she'll say, if this goes on too much longer, this could cost you trillions of dollars, the system. But the other attorneys are going to say, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. We've got a 420 problem. And the other attorney will join in. No, I think we've got a 226 issue. And then another attorney will call in and say, I've been reading, and our problem really is a 528. And they'll go down the highway for months arguing about what issues they have. So I don't see this helping MMTLP case at all. It's just more legal wrangling. You need Dagny Talbert to come take charge of this whole thing, knock a few heads together, tell the lawyers to wait in the anteroom, and get all parties to settle. Not legal advice. There might be 250 lawyers just on this stream. I know, taking notes. And if there's any lawyers on this stream from FINRA or the SEC or Congress, can I just ask you one question? Why are you protecting this criminality that goes on? I can't see how it benefits companies, capital formation, the integrity of the markets, cities, working class jobs, taxpayers' income, and these trillions of dollars that have gone offshore. They don't pay any taxes on it. It doesn't help state treasuries, city treasuries, or the federal treasury. Why are you protecting it? I don't know. When you go home tonight, when you wake up and you're shaving, or you're putting your makeup on in the morning, or you're not putting makeup on and you're just looking in the mirror, ask yourself that. Why are you protecting Jeff Easton and Hailey Kim and Sam Chung and Philip Vallier and John Hancock over at the Lynn Partners? They're all puffery. They don't raise money. They don't add any value to anything. They're just frauds pretending to be something they're not. Why do you protect Kurt Kramer and Seth Kramer? They're a serial crime spree. They're doing it now out of Virginia. They kill company after company after company. They kill the American dream, and they don't pay taxes unless they have to. Why? Why do you protect it? Wolf. Why do you protect Yorkshire Advisors? Why do you protect John and Justine Hurry? I just don't understand it. I understand you want to come against us because we're all Bernie bros or Reddit basement dwellers in your mind. And you don't want to go against the media that do no research. But you'd rather listen to those talking heads. But you know, your voters don't listen to them. No one listens to CNN at the airport. I don't know why if you are on here trying to catch out all of us who were fighting to do your job, SEC, to do your job, FINRA, to do your job, OTC markets. I just do not understand why you defend criminality on a scale that is so massive. Trillions of dollars, according to according to West Christian, out of Germany alone, destroying U.S. markets. Why do you support it? It's all going to come crashing down. You will go into history either in ignominy or be completely forgotten if one of you, just one of you, had the courage to have integrity and say, the emperor is wearing no clothes, and follow the truth. You could go down in history with a name greater than Wilberforce or greater than Eliot Ness, greater than some of the heroes of history. But instead, you go along with this criminality, and you're actually tuning in here to find out if we're committing fraud? It's the people that you protect who are committing fraud on a scale that would pay to build out high-speed trains across the country, would pay to build modern solar power plants here in the United States, that would pay to build steel factories and colleges and school for everyone through at least junior college. But for some reason you support these criminals? I really don't get it. I really don't get it. And if you think the criminals who are doing this at Citadel and what's the other one, Vision or Venue or whatever, and Goldman Sachs Prime Brokerage and all the rest of them, if you think those international bankers are going to come rescue you as congressmen and as senators and as SEC bureaucrats and FINRA bureaucrats in the over-the-counter markets, you're crazy. They're just squirreling their money away in New Zealand and elsewhere so they can be part of the international jet-setting wealth crew. They're not coming. They're not going to protect you. When it all goes down, you're going to still be living in a suburb of New York or a suburb of D.C., and you're going to wonder where all your friends went, and wondering why you didn't actually do some research yourself. Alan, it pays to buy elections. If the crime stops, where will the money come from? Well, I think Bernie Sanders showed that money can come from all of us. I think RFK Jr. is going to prove it too. There's plenty of money out there. It's just laziness. It's just laziness. I think Finger has a chance. I've never heard Ham so definitive. He just said to you that the trading in the stock and the trading in the options tells you that it's going to go now. Well, now means tomorrow, Friday, Monday next week, Tuesday next week, Wednesday next week, Thursday next week. He's basically saying it's going to go before the 21st of July. Well, who's gonna prove him wrong? Are Jeff Easton and Hai Lee Kim gonna pull in their connections and come up with $100 million to short this stock down? I don't think so. This is an upside down trade, and it's a huge mistake on the part of Lynn Partners, in my judgment. Everything on this video is in my judgment. Everything on this video is not financial advice. But it's a massively gone wrong trade. And all the people associated with Benchmark, this free money they thought they're going to get is going to, might put them in prison, but it's certainly going to come back and cost them money. Yeah, Finger right now is 424. That's the ask, 885,000. That's up 4 cents on the day, Jenny. I just wanted this letter from the Congress to Gary Gensler. I wanted to read. I may not read all of it. Well, I don't know if this is styling, Jerome. What I did, I moved inside and I ordered this because I don't know what this does exactly, but I wanted to make the audio better, but I have no idea. It's just an attempt. I have no idea if this is going to be better or not. I'm not going to try to touch it all the time like lots of people do. But I'm just imitating without really reading whether it works or not. Way too humid to be outside. All right, so on June 28th, this letter was written to Gary Gensler, and it's sent to Gary Gensler by Patrick McHenry, Jim Jordan, and James Comer. Jim Jordan is the chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary. James Comer is the chairman, Committee on Oversight and Accountability. And Patrick McHenry is the Committee on Financial Services. They copied the Honorable Gerald L. Nadler, Ranking Member, Committee on the Judiciary. The Honorable Jamie Raskin, Ranking Member, Committee on Oversight and Accountability. And the Honorable Maxine Waters, Ranking Member on the Committee on Financial Services. I may not read it all. I haven't read it yet, but Ham posted it, so I thought we could go over it. Chairman Gensler, we write regarding your failure to adequately respond to our letter dated November 1, 2022. I guess I should have gotten that letter. I didn't. Which we addressed to the Securities and Exchange Commission. In our letter, we requested information related to your and the SEC's compliance with federal record-keeping requirements based on, among other things, quote, evidence uncovered during Freedom of Information Act litigation, suggesting the SEC is failing to identify and produce records of official business conducted on non-email or off-channel platforms such as Signal, WhatsApp, Teams, and Zoom, regardless of whether the communication took place on a personal or business device, unquote. While your response letter refers to operations of the SEC's Records and Information Management Program and FOIA Office, the SEC regulations, guidance, and trading, and the SEC's general commitment to complying with federal record-keeping obligations, you failed to respond directly to the 5 clear requests set forth in the letter. This includes providing specific certifications regarding the SEC's and your personal compliance with federal record-keeping requirements. In addition, we are concerned that the SEC may be failing to meet its record-keeping obligations in connection with the Administrative Procedure Act's notice and comment rulemaking process. More specifically, we question whether the SEC has documented all feedback on its proposed rules in relevant comment files as required, including any and all meetings you had with external parties that may have covered rule proposals that were pending at the time. As you know, documenting all comments received from the public, whether that feedback is received in writing, through comment letters, or orally through in-person meetings with the SEC representatives, is critical. Documentation ensures the SEC formulates and adopts rules based on a full and complete record with the APA. Release of your public calendar suggests you met with CalPERS individually or together with groups. And they go through that. In other words, they didn't report it. Other public calendars, you met with Healthy Markets, better markets. And they talk about climate change. Your failure to adequately respond to the SEC letter, their letter that they wrote, combined with the potential record-keeping matters described above, continue to raise troubling questions about the SEC's compliance with applicable federal laws. They also raise disturbing questions regarding your own commitment to holding the SEC accountable to the same standards you seek to impose on the individuals and entities you regulate. Well, there's a huge caveat in there. You know, any criminal that operates in the over-the-counter NASDAQ and higher markets, they don't seem to hold to any standard at all. The American public deserves a capital markets regulator who plays by its own rules, not one that acts above the law. Then they make a list of demands, and then they appreciate the prompt response. I don't think the Republicans in the House are all that impressed with how Gary Gensler's been running the SEC. Yeah, he didn't disclose it. It reduced my P's and S's, so I can't say, please, Mr. Pass the porridge. He has until July 17 to respond. Thank you, Jenny L. Jenny L should go on with Not Legal Advice and Big JR as well. If Gensler were a Republican nominee, they wouldn't be saying boo. Yeah, I don't know. There seems to be a subset of the most recent House cohort who were elected that seem determined to change things regardless of party, but you might be right. All right, Deacon Blues. They call me Deacon Blues. Well, that cocaine at the White House might be allowing Fritz, free retail. Keeps the spit off the mic. I've thought about that too. Keeps the spit off the mic. And maybe it keeps me from believing my own spit. That's what people do. They get on a high horse and they start believing everything they say. I watched, here's Not Legal Advice. I would say, although I want Gary Gensler out, there is no one in Congress really acting on behalf of retail. I agree with that. I worry if they get rid of Gary Gensler, and I want to say this carefully because I don't want to be politically incorrect. But if they promote people ahead of their length of service or their skill level simply because of personal characteristics, I think that'll be a mistake. I'd like to see Gurbir Grewal appointed. I know he's a man, and that's a problem. We need to appoint women, but Gurbir Grewal does not seem to hobnob with all the corrupt politicians and all the money. He seems to be an honest person, I'd like to see him appointed SEC chair. Well, he probably isn't going to comply. You know, one of the goals and I hope you guys see it, I thank God for the legal system, and thank God for lawyers like Not Legal Advice and Rosa and Richard, unless that's the same person, because I said on my video I did last night, but I was listening to this general. Let me see if I can find his name, who was talking to Jimmy Dore about a war. I won't name the war, if I can find his name. If not, anyway, he said there's three branches of the United States government: Raytheon, the pharmaceutical industry, and BlackRock. And I'd like to see that change. I think if you carry it back far enough, you begin to wonder if this is being orchestrated elsewhere. But over the last years, and I'm including all parties, because I think it started with Bill Clinton's, Improved Journalism Act, whatever it was called. We don't have journalism anymore in the mainstream media. One company controls most of the media. There's 6 or 7 outlets. NASDAQ, if you Google who controls NASDAQ, it'll say BlackRock. And our government seems completely corrupt or bought or captured. Our regulatory bodies seem captured. Maybe it's just because I'm older now and I look around and I see mediocrity. But thank God for the legal system, because you can still, as a good attorney, make filings, go by precedents, and make a difference. And so I welcome the legal process. It might be the only thing we have left. But the way to make a difference in the financial markets, the way to change this is through a finger or through a GTII, or maybe there's another stock out there. But if one of these stocks squeezes, if 2 of these squeezes, if 5 of them, and it takes a prime broker down, all of a sudden the brokerage firms are going to start implementing rules to never let this happen again. Because I cannot believe that the majority of people on Wall Street, the majority of people in the regulatory bodies, the majority of people in government or even politicians are corrupt enough to let this go on. They don't understand it because there's no journalism anymore. And you get PRICKs like that guy at can't remember Forbes lying. Well, until there's courage out there and until there's information out there, people don't know how to make the right choice. That's why I'm not ready to pick on, most people don't like to stand up to challenges or to confrontation. Almost all people. So I'm not going to pick on a legislative aide in a congressman's office. I personally happen to like Pete Sessions, for example, very, very much. I think he's an honorable man. He does what he says he's going to do. I think he's thoughtful. It just takes time for people to come around the idea that this level of criminality could be so pervasive. and so allowed. Deacon Blues, I don't understand. If FINRA could so easily pull the plug on MMTLP, why can't they just pull the plug on Alpine? Well, it's two different issues. Just, my non-lawyer understanding of it. I've explained it before. I have some sympathy for FINRA. Over the last couple of decades, when a company merges with another or makes a distribution of a trading company, the counterfeit shares, the IOUs, which reside in your accounts and my accounts, in the case of MMTLP, everything is electronic. There are no physical shares anymore. You don't want physical shares because you can't get them back in the system. Everything's electronic, so you don't know if your shares are real or not. And in the past, when a corporate event occurred, they just moved the problem into the new publicly traded shares. So the new company got crushed. In this instance, almost by accident, there may have been a greater plan. The transfer was into a public company. So what FINRA did, they used an obscure rule. I don't know if you ever watched the movie, The Verdict. James Mason asks the nurse, "Whatever induced you to keep a copy of an obscure document?" "I wanted to be a nurse." "Who were these men?" Well, what happened at FINRA, in my opinion, you have 105 broker-dealers. You might have hundreds of billions of shares, hundreds of millions, billions of shares, counterfeit, sitting in your accounts and my accounts. And the SEC approved the distribution, to my memory, on Tuesday. Maybe I'm off by a day. FINRA approved it on a Wednesday night. Thursday is the last day of trading. All day long, Jessica Hopper is going to receive phone calls from the compliance officers, the regional managers, the presidents, and CEOs of 105 broker-dealers saying, "Hey, DTC shows that we have 1 million shares. But in fact, we have 25 million shares in our accounts. There's no way we can settle this trade by Monday the 12th. It's an impossibility. You've got to give us better guidelines. If we buy in, starting tomorrow, we could get sued that we didn't give enough notice. If we don't buy in, it puts our entire firm at risk, because come Monday, December 12th, we owe this distribution to 24 million people, or accounts, or shares, how many ever there are. So, FINRA, we need better guidance than this, because every way we step, we lose. If we step by buying in too soon, we haven't given enough notice. Because as of today, we haven't given any indication to anyone that they even have a margin call or have a margin issue. And so you've given us approval on Wednesday the 7th, and then after, and I could be off by a day, but after hours, there's been trading all day on Thursday. But FINRA, we are not going to buy in unless you give us more detail on how we're supposed to handle it and explain to us what we do when we can't buy everybody in. And then what about the trading? How's that? What's the structure of that trading? We could go out of business, FINRA. This is unacceptable to us. And the phone calls came. And Jessica Hopper, being a graduate of UVA Law School, and then working at Legg Mason in compliance, and then getting some sort of minor securities training at law at Georgetown, if I'm remembering the right CV, she froze. She said, "What do we do?" She sent emails to, and you saw some of them, and her other compatriots, to her boss Cook and to Gensler at the SEC. What are you going to do? Well, they found an obscure rule, being lawyers, that said if you cannot move the publicly traded shares into a private company in time, in accuracy, you can stop trading. That's why FINRA stopped trading in MMTLP. It may have something to do with the fact that they sold their own shares of MMTLP and committed a crime, possibly. But in my judgment, the reason FINRA stopped trading is they did not know how to solve the problem. There's probably at least 1, if not 2, if not 3 billion shares of MMTLP sitting in our accounts as IOUs, as electronic entry, as frauds, and there's only 165 million real shares showing at the DTC. So there were panicked phone calls to FINRA. FINRA stopped trading. It all resided with this one lawyer. Probably it went up to Robert Cook, who looks like he's useless. And maybe it went to glad-handing goober Gensler, who protects Goldman Sachs. And before the market started trading, she said, we're gonna stop trading. And then you get James Cramer on TV saying, hey, buyer caveat emptor, the asshole. Sorry for my language. Arrogant asshole. Maybe protecting Goldman Sachs. I think that's why they stopped trading in MMTLP. It is miles away from the situation that faces GTII and Finger. Finger is not merging into a company. It's not distributing a company. It's not becoming a private company. You've just got a situation where Wall Street has allowed potentially 150 million shares, we don't know the real number, to be sold into our accounts that do not exist. FINRA is not going to have a reason. They're not going to have an obscure ruling to stop trading. All of the broker-dealers that have in their accounts short positions, fail to deliver positions of Finger, are going to want to cover their rear end. It's completely different. It's not ipso facto. It's not, hey, they stopped trading in MMTLP, so they're going to stop trading in Finger. But it's also not, hey, they stopped trading in MMTLP, why don't they just shut down Alpine? Well, because they tried to. But Alpine's lawyers have sought the protections of the courts, and that hasn't played out yet. I don't see an ipso facto. I don't see an if A and if B, then C. I just don't see it. Don't start gritting my teeth. What's next for Logic and Go Logic? I'm asking more about why they can't yield their powers to drop the hammer on Alpine. They dropped the hammer on Alpine. I read the case, I think, on one of these calls. And Alpine has lawyers that apparently have found some success in this argument that FINRA has no constitutional right to its authority. I would imagine that means FINRA expelled Alpine in March of 2022. They did. It didn't hold because the lawyers appealed, sought the protection of the U.S. courts. I would rather not get into a long disquisition of Logic and Go Logic right now, because I think I need to do videos on both. But as I've almost ad infinitum pointed out, I don't even know where Logic closed, so I'm going to make an assumption. Logic is trading at 28 cents. It's going to distribute Data Logic into Aubrey SPAC at a prearranged deal worth $1.14 a share. It's all in the press releases. Aubrey SPAC is a publicly traded NASDAQ company. The number of shares are agreed. The price is agreed, and it works out to $1.14 a share. Aubrey SPAC is going to de-SPAC, and the stock will trade on the NASDAQ as Data Logic, and let's just call it value at $1 a share. That's been pending for many months, and every time you ask about it, this doesn't change. The proxy for the Data Logic shareholder approval is already on EDGAR. It's just awaiting dates. And I didn't look, but I'm sure Logic has a similar proxy. Logic owns 4.5 million shares of Go Logic. That hasn't changed. The price of Go Logic has gone down. But essentially Logic, when this happens, will be a shell. But Logic has deal flow that they're sifting through, cream of the crop. They had an announced deal with a group called PRIVE, P-R-I-V-E, that was worth, and that might have been a placeholder, I don't know, worth 40 to 60 cents a share to Logic, to you. They let that deal expire. Not because they're going to go into a lesser deal, not because they have weak hands, but because, and Brent talked about this on calls with you, but because they have better deals. And in fact, they're going to go into a larger company than that. So if we just assume the low end of that, 40 to 60 cents, Logic is going to acquire a private company. Essentially, it's going to be selling its shell for a piece of a large company. The GoLogic shares are worth about 5 cents a share, and the Logic shell is worth about 40 cents a share. Let's just call it 40 cents. I mean, nothing in this story has changed. So right now you can buy or own one piece of paper called Logic at 28 cents. It's going to be worth, out of the gate, $1.40 in a sum of 2 pieces of paper. One will be data logic and one will be the surviving logic. Worth 40 cents here, worth $1 here. $1.40. Logic has no control over the SEC, and Aubrey SPAC filed the S4, waiting for S4 approval, is going through Aubrey SPAC. That process has been going on since September. So that's September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and now we're in the 10th month. Well, actually June. We're in the 11th month, depending on what time in September. This process of getting SEC approval historically can take about 9 months. What is going to happen with Logic? As soon as Aubrey SPAC receives the S4 approval for this merger, Data Logic is going to be distributed from Logic into the Aubrey SPAC, publicly traded, ASPA, at $10.60. It's probably closer to $10 now. That is going to be de-SPACed and take the name of Data Logic. The value of that transaction is $1.14 a share out of the gate. They have several deals that they're screening and are ready to go into the SPAC / Data Logic, and could happen even beforehand, but are most likely to happen afterward. The approval from the SEC is expected presently, imminently. This week? Next week. What happens then? Then, let's say it happens next week. Let's say it happens by July 12th. Then you have to put everything out for a vote to the SPAC and to Logic. That's all ready to go, as I just said. If you look up Aubrey SPAC on EGDR, you can see it there. It's just a perfunctory vote. You've got to notice it, and it takes at least 10 days, so let's call that 2 weeks. Both Logic and the Aubrey SPAC essentially have this pre-approved. I would say that's going to take 2 weeks. So basically, I would suggest to you July is the time frame that it takes to both receive SEC approval and shareholder approval for the merger. This means in August, first, second week of August, there'll be a record date and an effective date. Your one share of Logic will turn into two pieces of paper, one data logic, and the other will remain as logic. Out of the gate, worth ostensibly $1.40, $1.50, $1.60 a share combined. Logic is also looking at other deals and expects to do more than just this one transaction. Why is Logic down? Because shorts who have brains the size of half a hollowed out pea see the stock was up. They see the application before the SEC. Unlike you, they recognize that the SEC is going to approve this transaction, so they assume there's a shell. Logic, why don't we just sell it? We can sell it at 30 cents. We'll buy it back at 10 cents, because after the primary asset of Logic gets shifted over to the Aubrey SPAC, what's left in the shell? Nothing. We'll just buy it back cheaper. Brent has told you that they're going to put something in that shell that's bigger than the last deal. So are the shorts correct? I don't know. Are your eyes correct when you see the stock price down, and therefore you should worry instead of holding, instead of buying more, you should worry, oh my gosh, it's going lower? I don't know. They may be able to drive it lower by their ability to sell shares that don't exist. The same story. They can create shares out of the ether illegally and sell them. But are they going to be able to buy them back cheaper? I think that's an open question, because when the SEC finally gives approval, oh my gosh, the stock is down, they're not approving it, there must be something wrong. Okay. It's one point of view. Another point of view is, the SEC takes forever. The criminals are shorting this because they don't do any research. So they assume the shell, they can buy it back cheaper after the distribution occurs, because they don't have any doubt, unlike you, that the SEC is going to approve this transaction. Well, are they going to be right? I suggest to you they're not going to be correct about that. But that's your call. I think Logic is cheaper than where it's ever been recently. Logic is closer to the SEC approval. It may happen tomorrow, or it may happen in a week or 2 weeks. The deal flow that is flowing to Logic and the Aubrey SPAC because of the screwed up marketplaces and the dry IPO makes Logic a screaming buy. But your eyes are telling you, hey, I bought it at 60 and it's down, therefore there's something wrong. Trust one of them. But I just gave you the due diligence as quickly as I can and as repetitively as I can on Logic. I think Logic is worth over $1, maybe even $1.50 in less than 2 months. But sell it here if you want. Or don't buy it. Worry it to death if you want, or see it as an opportunity to buy. I'm not going to go through GoLogic, because GoLogic is, as my dad used to say, they said upstate New York, it's an identical story. And you've got GoLogic selling off. They're doing a merger into Recruiter.com. They're going to distribute everything except their billion-dollar money management firm into Recruiter.com. They're going to get that listed on NASDAQ. They've got other deals for both. I think it takes longer than Logic, but it's almost the same story. So you're going to get 2 pieces of paper for the one that you hold. GoLogic is being sold off, I think, because there were some shorts that were hoping to sell into 20 million shares or 25 million shares, suddenly flooding the market like the ones I own that I got as a distribution from Logic. But I don't think Brent is going to allow those shares to flood the market. And I think it's the same old story. I know you want to hear it over and over again. Why it doesn't change. The criminals like to bust up deals by selling the stock lower. So 2 CEOs have agreed a deal, and then the criminals just sell it down and down and down so that the 2 CEOs break the deal, and then the stock keeps going lower. Or if the CEOs work out the deal, they change the price, and it's so on a per share basis, it becomes dilutive. This is the criminal mindset. GoLogic is 90 cents. I don't know where it traded, but GoLogic is cheap. It's not going to zero. They're going to distribute all of their fintech business into the publicly traded Recruiter.com, and then they're going to remain a shell with the gamma ray business. Each side of that transaction has 2 to 3 deals to roll up, and I'm going to guess that that stock could be worth $3 to $5 in 2 to 4 months. And both stocks, Logic and GoLogic, a year from now could give you 8 to 10 to 12x. But as many times as I say this story, they're going to keep selling the stock. You're going to keep saying, oh, there's something wrong. What's wrong is they can sell shares that do not exist. They can break the law. No one cares. They can drive the stock downward. Brent, who you've listened to, has deal flow. Cream of the crop deal flow in both cases. He's going to turn Logic into 2 pieces of paper. He's going to turn GoLogic into 2 pieces of paper. Both worth, in the short run, I would say they're both worth, in the short run, less than 6 months, 5x from these prices. But the price is telling you, you better worry. Not telling you, in your mind, that, hey, I'm lucky, I can buy more here. Now, I can't give you specific advice. I cannot give you a financial advice. But all of what I'm telling you is in press releases, it's in conference calls, it's in the data that's out there. The time to buy GoLogic, the time to buy Logic is when the criminals are selling the stock off before the corporate events happen, before the mergers happen, before revenues happen. Both cases, they want to exit this year. Logic combined wants to exit this year with over $100 million in revenue. It's visible. But you don't believe it because the stock price is down. Obviously, the shorts have done more research than Brent has given you in conference calls and given you in press releases. The shorts must know something. GoLogic wants to exit the year on an annualized revenue of over $100 million. But the stock price is telling you that the shorts know something you don't know. So you got to get over that in your head. You've got to get beyond the point. I've done my rational due diligence. My gut is telling me when I look at the stock price, it's going to go lower. That's when you buy all you can. If you're so inclined. I cannot give you specific advice. You add to your position. And then when it goes up 4x, 3x, 5x, 6x. In the case of Logic, I think that happens in 6 weeks, 8 weeks. In the case of GoLogic, it could take until September, October. But when it goes up, you can sell that position that you added to, take your profit, and leave the rest ride. But instead, you're looking at the stock, one more day passes, and suddenly another day passed. And the criminals sell some more stock. No one's buying. There's no research. There's no institutions buying yet. So therefore, the criminals must be right. In the case of Logic, all the filings with the SEC are going to be ignored. The finalized and agreed deals are going to disappear. All the revenue over $100 million in the case of both companies is going to disappear. The team that's putting together deal flow that's going to agglomerate, roll up several teams and technologies to get the revenues to many multiples of that, that's all going to disappear. The stock price is telling you everything's going wrong. It's all going to disappear, so you better sell. Or you trust your due diligence and you say, you know what? It doesn't make any sense for these stock prices to be this low. I'm going to buy some. But that's up to you. Okay, Basamo, GTII. We are sitting at the same spot we were September 21st, 2022. Can't argue with that, Basamo. I don't know. I didn't look. But Basamo, you know what? Maybe it's time to sell the stock. You waited a year, and it didn't. Well, it's not even a year and a half, I guess, and it didn't work. So get out, Basamo. Get out of GTII. Sell it. You've been waiting, and one thing an investor hates to do is wait. So just get out. Just get out. Stop waiting. But I'll call your attention to the fact that the arbitrage you're playing, Basamo, is time. That's your arbitrage. You have no other arbitrage. You don't have information more quickly than Wall Street. You don't have... Most of Wall Street will buy GTII when it's $10 or if it runs, when it's $10 or $15 or $20, hoping it goes to 200. They don't want to wait. But Basamo, please sell GTII. That will stop your wait, the interminable wait on GTII. Just get out. You don't understand the situation. I would just get out if you're tired of waiting. I've been stacking. You always take what I write the wrong way. Basamo, I don't mean to take it the wrong way. I really don't. And Basamo, I'm glad you come on here. When you write a small thing, it's hard to know which way you mean it. The way I took it is that GTII is doing nothing after almost 2 years. That's how I took it. Maybe you meant that it's as cheap as it was in September last year. My whole point to you, Basamo, is the prices in these stocks are manipulated. Kurt Kramer sold shares of, well, he'll say it wasn't me, but it was his mother down the hall and his brother over across the way. They sold, it looks like 350 million shares that don't exist, maybe more. Alpine took over for them, and Alpine set sellers on the stock to drive it down. Frank Benedetto, Lou Bravo, and the CEO of COSM came to you as a group in October and November and said, hey, get out of GTII, go over in COSM. COSM has a 2,000% short position, which was untrue. COSM is going to change its name and its QSIP, and that's going to cause a short squeeze, which was untrue. COSM will not do a reverse split. That was untrue. COSM won't take money from financiers. That was untrue. And COSM has a lot of great contracts that are going to revolutionize the business of import-export. No company in the history of the world has had better contracts importing and exporting goods from one world to the next. Well, that proved to be an exaggeration. Most people lost all their money in COSM. But what it did, Basamo, is it stopped the short squeeze that I think was in place in GTII. It added another 10 months to your wait. And instead of getting mad at a company that came in front and, in my judgment, did pump and dump, did take $40 million out of the system, your money, my money. I could be completely wrong. It's not a provable argument. But because of the special distribution of a warrant in GTII, Fidelity was paying 1,000% to borrow shares. 1,000%. Wells Fargo was reportedly had taken away the buy button. Other broker-dealers were slow-walking the exercise of those warrants. That's the beginning of a squeeze. Instead, as a group, Basamo, we went over to COSM, promptly lost our money, and then we wondered why the pressure came off of GTII, because that was our source of funds. And all of a sudden, the squeeze was gone. And now we're sitting waiting, and people, maybe not you, Basamo, and I applaud you for adding to your position, and I also apologize to you for misinterpreting your message. But we've had to wait and wait. I think these guys were very clever. They read the enthusiasm of a group of investors And they were able to move money, and maybe money changed hands. I have no idea. But the Kramers were down close to $1 billion, 800 million, 850 million. And it all went away temporarily. And then Alpine got involved. And then Alpine drove the stock down. And I think we were done wrong at that point. But you can't prove it. And maybe Frank didn't know any better. Maybe Lou didn't know any better. I think the Greek knew exactly what he was doing. But he's in a business of raising money out of the markets. He looked out for his shareholders. That's what he does in the long run. But he hurt his new shareholders, I think. But so here we still sit. We had to live through a collapse in GTII. We had to live through year-end selling in GTII. And we've tried some other things to get the system back to where it was, in my judgment, in October/November. And so, yeah, we wait. I think it's great that you're adding to your position, Basamo, and I apologize for misinterpreting what you said, what you meant. I don't know what else to say. All the big time get this, Mike. What's the best mic? Shure SM7. I'll write that down. Shure SM7. I ordered this mic because I thought my other one was bad. And then this popped up at the same time. I said, oh, heck, I'll buy it. That's what happened. So, Basamo, I'm sorry I misread your meaning and your message. That's all on me, and I was wrong, and I apologize. So there you go. Basamo, perfect. That is a perfect message. Trying to point out that GTI is sitting at the same spot. Very good observation. It's sitting at the same spot it was before it ran to $9. Very good observation, Basamo. And remember, Basamo, it's probably, if you count if it's 30 million restricted shares that were issued or are owed, and the maybe 125, 150 million shares they've sold since that time, it's a bigger problem today for them. Would I drop my top shares and buy Finger? I'd at least do it with half of them. I don't see why top is going to run per se, but it might. I'd be more inclined to drop my AMC shares than that. I'm like Ron Burgundy. What, a jerk? I'm like a jerk? How about if I... See, you're not supposed to lower it. You're supposed to be... I'm supposed to be level with this. So I can't really lower it. I have to be level with that. Big Al, you bought VBIV, 10,000 shares, 303, sold at 380. Let's see, that's, you made $75,000? No, you made 50 cents. No, you made 75 cents on 10,000 shares. You made $7,500. No, I'm not Steve Martin. I'm not even as funny as he is. What's 5 incoming? What's 5 incoming? Let's see. It's trading at 420 right now, 887,000. You know, it's almost 6 o'clock, and I wanted to read one thing to you guys, not related. And Basamo, I hope you can hear this too. Not so much, this is not so much to do anything right now, but I want you thinking about if you make money on Finger or GTII or one of the others, any of the others. On July 2nd, Egon von Greyerz wrote a letter to his investors, and I've followed him for a long, long time. He's out of Switzerland, and he runs Gold Switzerland, and he also, his bigger company is called Matterhorn Asset Management. We don't hear enough about MMAT. I don't have much to say about MMAT. It's a brilliant company, but they took a deal. So I don't know what to tell you about MMAT. They're in the same boat as the rest of the companies. In general, I think you have to wait until companies like that do their next financing to make sure they have enough money to get to the next milestone. But as long as a company does one of these financings, as long as a company does one of these financings, the numerator is the value of the contract and the denominator is the number of shares. You don't know what this number is. And so as long as any company enters into a toxic convertible note, it doesn't matter how valuable their technology is, doesn't matter how valuable their orders are, doesn't matter how valuable their assets are. If you don't know how many shares exist or will exist or could exist, you can't figure out the value of your investment. And so that's the problem I see with MMAT. But I'm not saying that MMAT is a bad company. And I think MMAT has a run in it, particularly if there's a payout on MMTLP and there's a payout on any deal. People are going to invest in MMAT. They have a brilliant technology, but I don't know how they get past the last deal they did. All right, I just want to, I talked about MMAT a little bit. I just want to read you this letter. I may not read all of it, but I want you to think about where the world is today. If you guys make money, I want you to think about putting assets in gold, silver, farmland, water, things that are real, and get out of the financial markets. Anyway, dated July 2nd, he writes, "The time has now come for the 99.5% of financial assets." I'll read that again. 99.5% of financial assets which are not invested in gold, silver, or precious metals, mining stocks, to grab both the investment and wealth preservation opportunity of a lifetime. That's not the best written sentence, but his point is the financial assets that represent 99.5% of assets, buying gold, silver, or mining companies stocks represents the wealth preservation opportunity of a lifetime. Making that decision before it is too late is likely to, and Basamo, for all of the things that maybe I say impertinently, this is my whole goal for you and for everyone on this. Making that decision before it is too late is likely to determine your financial and also general well-being for the rest of your life. And so I get a little pissy sometimes. I keep doing this for this reason. If you have already joined that exclusive group of 0.5% of global financial assets, which are invested in precious metals, you understand what is coming. But if you belong in the group, and this is why I'm reading this now, because I'm not telling you to do it this instance. I'm saying over the next weeks, months, we'll have a chance to do this. I hope we have enough time. But if you belong to the group that neither understands precious metals nor holds any, it might be worthwhile to continue reading. My dad used to get mad at me if I wrote, "it might be." All right. So here's what's going on. We're going from a debt-based West, us, to a commodity-based East and South. East being Russia, Iran, China, South being the rest of the BRICS, India. As the Western Empire is breaking up currently, this gentleman is Swiss, so English is not his first language, but he's really erudite. He's really good. As the Western Empire is breaking up currently, the Eastern and Southern Empire is gaining ever more significance. More than 30 countries want to join the BRICS and may also join the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. There is also the Eurasian European Union, which has existed since 2014 and consists of several ex-Soviet states. The enlarged group will consist of more than 40 countries and represent around two-thirds of global population, two-thirds of the global population, and one-third of the global GDP. He's written in a different article, which maybe I'll read that a different time. This is the area which will experience, and I've talked about this a little bit, the fastest growth in the coming decades as the West gradually declines / collapses under its own deficits and debt burden together with political and moral decay. I'm not picking on Democrats. Moral decay applies to everything. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has just announced that Iran will join the SCO on July 4th, and that Belarus will also become a full member. There is a virtual SCO meeting on July 4th, chaired by India. It seems more than a coincidence that this is on U.S. Independence Day. The BRICS meeting in Johannesburg takes place August 22-24 with Macron trying to gate crash, but he was rejected. Macron is devious and has always tried to ride several horses simultaneously. But BRICS is not interested in opportunists who are happy to turn with the wind of success. At some point, these three groupings might be merged into one, with gold playing a central role. I don't expect that there will be one gold-backed currency at fixed parity, but rather that gold will float at a much higher value than currently with a link to BRICS currencies. So as the West, and especially the United States, licks its mortal wounds, the East will go forward to the coming feast. The next headline, and I'll try to stop in 10 minutes because you want to get on with not legal advice. The next headline, the dollar is no longer as good as gold. There was a time when the US dollar was, quote, as good as gold, until August 15th, 1971. Sovereign nations could exchange dollars for gold for $35 an ounce. But the president said, nix on that. But sadly, most leaders, whether of countries or corporations, eventually resort to greed when real money runs out. And that's kind of what's happening in all of these stocks, all these short selling situations. So this is what Nixon did in 1971 when he closed the gold window. He resorted to greed. In spite of falling 98% in real terms since 1971, the dollar has remained both the preferred reserve currency and also the currency of choice for global trade. All currencies have lost about the same amount, by the way. The two principal reasons why the dollar hasn't yet died is that virtually all other currencies have declined by similar percentages. The astute introduction of the petrodollar in 1973 and 74, which was the brainchild of Nixon's Secretary of State, who's still alive, Henry Kissinger, and I met him at Cafe Milano. Doc Kissinger played an important role in convincing Saudi Arabia, who was the dominant oil producer at the time, to sell oil in dollars against a package of U.S. weapons and protection. As the West now sinks in a quagmire of debt, corruption, and decadence, the world will experience a tectonic shift away from fiat/fake money/fake shares. I wrote that. With zero intrinsic value to currencies backed by commodities, with gold playing a central role. The next headline, where have all the statesmen gone? The West has not got one single statesman. The West hasn't one single statesman who can pull it out of the swamp. Many countries are now turning to the right, like Italy, with Meloni. Isn't Meloni the guy from Back to School that sold large clothing? Oh, that was Mellon. Meloni and Spain, who is also probably swinging right in July with Partido Popular and the far-right Vox Party. Macron is extremely unpopular, and Le Pen now leads the opinion polls with 55%. Scholz in Germany also has failed badly, and the nationalist AfD is now ahead of the ruling Social Democrats in the polls. The UK is currently the only major country who is likely to turn to the left at the next election in 2025. No one believes in the weak Sunak, and Labour leader Keir Starmer is the clear favorite to win. But sadly, he's not a statesman either. So with a motley crew of weak leaders in Europe, things don't look any better. If we look to the West, the United States, sadly, the United States hasn't got a leader at all. It seems that Biden has got his strings pulled by an unelected and unaccountable team around him. I'm not writing this. This is an extremely vulnerable position for what has been the mightiest country in the world. A major military power without a leader is very dangerous. As President Eisenhower said in the 1950s, quote, "In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or the democratic process." Unquote. And I misquoted it slightly. As empires die, weak leaders are the norm and seem a necessary condition to exasperate the inevitable collapse. So we can all speculate about the outcome of the current crisis in the West and how it will end. These situations seldom consist of individual events, but are normally processes that take numbers of years, even decades. We must remember that we have already seen half a century of decline since 1971. So we are now likely to experience an acceleration of the process. As I have pointed out above, it is not the decline of the West which is happening in front of our eyes, but also the emergence of an extremely powerful cooperation of 40 plus countries, which will drive the global commodity-based expansion on a scale never before seen in history. Just take Russia with 85 trillion. Compare that to the United States, where we're selling trillions of counterfeit shares and printing trillions of non-existent money. Just take Russia with 85 trillion in natural resource reserves. They will play a major role in this real physical asset expansion as long as the country holds together politically, which Ergon von Greiritz expects. Remember that the massive global shift which is about to start is not based on personalities. It's not Trump, it's not Biden, it's not Hillary. Leaders are instruments of their time, and the right leaders will emerge in most countries to bring about this tectonic shift. Next headline: don't touch sovereign debt, even with a barge pole. So, okay, Basamo, if you're still here, it's almost done. So how will ordinary investors in the West protect and enhance their assets in a world which is on the cusp of major shifts financially, economically, and politically? Well, let's first look at what not to do. As I have stressed for many years, and he has, it is not a matter of maximizing returns, but minimizing risk. After the biggest global asset bubble in history, the everything collapse will be vicious and take down many investments that have been regarded as safe. such as sovereign debt. Take U.S. bonds and treasuries. For years, I have never understood how someone can invest in a security which is created just by snapping your fingers. This is how senior Swedish risk bank officials described to a journalist where money comes from, the snapping of fingers. So whether we call it mouse click money, like my good colleagues Matt Piepenburg, or finger snapping money, both expressions clearly tell us that we live in a hocus pocus world, just like the shares that we're talking about, where money is unlimited and can be created by snapping your fingers. Oh yes, we mustn't forget the additional 2 quadrillion of quasi-debt and liabilities in the form of derivatives. 2+ quadrillion. I have argued many times that a big part of these derivatives are likely to become debt as central banks create liquidity to save the financial system. We've seen it before, from an implosion. We've got to save Goldman Sachs of these financial instruments of mass destruction, as Warren Buffett calls them. I have long argued that holding Western sovereign debt is financial suicide. Lately, some big names agree with me, whether it's Jamie Dimon of Morgan, Don't Touch U.S. Bonds, or Ray Dalio. It would take 500 years to get the money back. Okay, so it's 6:15. I'll read the rest of this tomorrow, and I'm going to wish everybody, because you want to get over to Not Legal Advice. They start, NJR, they start at 6:30. So I'll read the rest of this tomorrow. And let's keep an eye out for Finger, which is trading at $4.2395. And I'm going to wish everybody, it's 6:15. That's when I'm ending. So I'm going to wish everybody a good night. Peace, love, and happiness, especially to Basamo. And we'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow's our big day and we can start to be our own central banks, and we'll finish that article tomorrow. So cheers.